Well, hello there. My name is Christopher Scott, and I am a small groups pastor of a local church. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about why you need an apprentice when you facilitate and lead a small group. So why do you, as a small group leader, need an apprentice? And I'm going to give you two reasons for that today. Number one, it's biblical. Number two, it's practical, okay? So, as I'm a small groups pastor of a local church, usually there's four basic things we want every small group to do to maintain a healthy small group. Number one, we want them to have the unifying question, right? And I got links below to these videos. We want the group to start out the group by doing the unifying question. Number two, we want the group to serve, to be equipping their people and to go serve in the church and in the community. Three, we want people to have an empty chair in their small group where they pray for an unsaved person each week. And then the fourth thing we want our groups to do is to have an apprentice, okay? To have an apprentice. And so today I'm going to give you the two reasons you want to have an apprentice in your small group, okay? It's biblical and it's practical. So first let's talk about it being biblical. If you've read the book of Acts, you know a little bit about it. And basically Paul makes 3 missionary journeys, and every time he makes a missionary journey, he takes guys with him, guys and gals with him. And what comes to mind immediately is that Paul often took Barnabas with him. He took Timothy. He took Luke. He took John the doctor. He took Priscilla and Aquila. I mean, he did ministry in teams. So that's a big theme in the book of Acts, if you read it, is that Paul just wasn't this lone preacher going around. No, he did it with a group of people, men and women, and he did a ministry in a team. If you read the book of Romans, you come to chapter 16 of Romans, you find something very unique as he starts to greet these people that he knows, right? First, he greets Phoebe, who is a deacon. Then he greets Priscilla and Aquila, who he calls his co-workers. Then he greets Apprentice. He greets Mary, Andronicus. He greets Junia. He greets Ampliatus, who he calls a dear friend. Stiches, Apelles, Aristobulus, Herodian, Narcissus, Tryphenia, Tryphosa, Parasis, Rufus, Rufus's mother, who he even calls his own mother, Asyncritus, Phlegon, Hermas, Patrobas, Hermas, the brothers and sisters of Hermas, Philologus, Julia, Nereus, Nereus' sister, Apollonius. Okay, there's 27 different names that he specifically mentions in Romans 16. That these are people he knew, did ministry with, worked alongside with, traveled with, right? So there's 27 different people. He calls one a deacon. He calls a couple of his co-workers. He calls one a dear friend. He calls another one a mother to him, right? So we see this in Paul's life, that he didn't just travel around by himself, but he did ministry in teams. Furthermore, if you read Acts 19:21 through 22, Paul mentions 2 assistants. He calls them an assistant, right? 2 of them. There's 2 assistants that he has. Timothy and Aristus, right? Timothy and Aristus. If you read Philippians, he talks about 2 of his helpers and co-workers in the book of Philippians, right? He talks about Timothy and then Epaphroditus. That's Philippians chapter 2, verses 19 through 30, right? Timothy and Epaphroditus. If you read Paul's letter to 2 Timothy, chapter 1, verse 18, he mentions a guy who's his co-worker called Onesiphorus, right? 2 Timothy 1:18. And if you read Philippians chapter 4, verse 3, Paul talks about a fellow co-worker, a true companion, a true partner. He doesn't name the person. It could be Lydia, it could be Epaphroditus, we don't know. But he calls this person his co-worker in the ministry that he's in. Additionally, if you want to read 2 more verses on your own that show people in the New Testament had partners and co-workers and apprentices, read Philippians chapter 1, verse 5, and then 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 15. So Philippians 1:5, 2 Thessalonians 2:15. Okay, so that's the first reason you need an apprentice, is that it's biblical. We have biblical examples of people having apprentices and doing ministry in teams. The second reason you want to have an apprentice is because it's practical. It's just a good thing to do. It makes you as a small group leader more effective, and it makes your job easier. All right, so I've got 8 basic things your apprentice can do. Okay, 8 basic things your apprentice can do. One thing your apprentice can do is organize the prayer time and the prayer requests for your group. So as it's time to do prayer in your group, let your apprentice lead that part. Let them him or her write down the prayer requests, lead the praying, and then have that apprentice email out the prayer requests to the group every single week. An additional thing that your apprentice can do is to update the roster maybe once or twice a year. Make sure you have everybody's phone number and email correct, and then make copies of that roster and give it to everybody each week, okay? Or give it to everybody once or twice a year so that they have it, okay? Another thing that your apprentice can do is communicate with your small group each week about the lesson you're in or what you're going to cover, right? So if your group's doing a Bible study guide, using a Bible study guide, and they're in a specific lesson and maybe doing a specific couple of questions each week, you can have your apprentice text message or email your group each week what lesson you're in and what questions the group should focus on during the week to come ready and prepared. Additionally, your apprentice can facilitate the group for you. Let's say you want to take your month-long cruise to the Bahamas, okay? You're gonna hop on that boat, set sail. You're not even gonna think about your small group because you have a good apprentice that can facilitate the group for you while you're gone, okay? Your apprentice can also help you pick your next study, right? So let's say you've studied a few books of the Bible. You maybe gone through Galatians, Ephesians, James, Ezra, Nehemiah, the book of John, Romans, and you and your apprentice feel like, our group, they understand the gospel, they get it, they're Christians, they love God, but they don't really share their faith with other people. We've been praying for some unsaved people, but it doesn't seem like they're really sharing their faith or even have confidence in your faith. So you and your apprentice might get together and decide on a next study or some curriculum that will help meet the needs of your small group, okay? That's just an example I'm giving you. So you and your apprentice might say, hey, we're going to do a Bible study on the book of Acts, right? It's 8 lessons. We're going to take 3 weeks per lesson, and we're going to spend 24 weeks. We're going to spend half a year learning how the people in the book of Acts shared their faith and spread the gospel in the first century church. That might be something you want to do. Or maybe you and your apprentice feel like the group, they don't share their faith because they're a little scared that people might argue with them about the Bible or about God, and they don't have any good reasons to support what they believe. So you might say, we're going to do a 12-week study, DVD study by Chip Ingram on why I believe. Basic reasons that we can have confidence in what we believe and why it's true, and to explain why we believe what we believe to other people. So those are just examples of what you and your apprentice might come up with in your small group to study based on the needs of your group. An additional thing that your apprentice can help you with, I have experienced, is when you're facilitating a discussion, sometimes people will ask a question of the facilitator or make a comment to the facilitator, and the facilitator might not quite understand the question or the comment. Like, there's been times where someone asked me in a small group a question, and I start to kind of explain an answer, and then my facilitator, my apprentice, will chime in and say, Christopher, I think what she means by that is this, or I think her true question is really this. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Okay, I misunderstood. So your apprentice is someone that can take a little more authority and be a little more assertive with you as the facilitator to make sure you're staying on track in helping to answer people's questions, okay? Additionally, your facilitator can coordinate snacks, okay, or desserts or whatever your group might do. That's not something you as a facilitator have to do, but your apprentice can, pass around the sign-up sheet and then send a text message to the person each week for snacks. Additionally, they can organize a potluck night. Maybe you've done your 24-week study in the book of Acts. Now you guys want to have a potluck and just celebrate. Let your apprentice organize who brings what, okay? So those are 8 things that your apprentice can do to help you as a facilitator and that your apprentice can do to help grow. And the important thing is that your apprentice doesn't necessarily even have to do those 8 things. Your apprentice can organize other people in the group to do those 8 things, right? So you as a facilitator, you're going to read the lesson, you're going to study, you're going to come ready to facilitate a discussion of the group. And then your apprentice can kind of take care of all these other details, prayer requests, snacks, things like that. They can oversee the other people in the group to make sure those things happen. So that's just an idea. So 2 reasons you need an apprentice for your small group. Number 1, it's biblical. I've shown you plenty of examples. Number 2, it's just practical, man. It makes your life easier as a small group leader and facilitator, and it will ultimately make you more effective as a small group facilitator if you have a good apprentice that can help you and assist you. If you have any questions about getting an apprentice, or maybe you want to share some tips, other things your apprentice has helped you do in your small group, leave a comment down there below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video and want to subscribe and get updates on future videos, you can subscribe up there. If you want to find other small group facilitator tips, those are over there. If you want to learn to use the Warren Wiersbe Bible Study Guides, I got some of those down there. Or if you want to use the Chip Ingram material in your small group, I got some how-to videos over there. Thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you again very soon.